Lesson 9.2, Video 2. Let's simplify a monomial over a monomial. In doing so, we notice that there's multiplication occurring, so you have two choices. I can just look at it and say, what is the common factor, or I can write it out as prime factors, and the choice is yours. So in this particular case, I'm going to write it out as prime factors, and in other cases I won't, so you can get a chance to see both. A's cancel there, only one A in common. My 3's cancel, and we're left with 5A squared on top and 7 on the bottom. Now notice if we talk about excluded values, there's no A in the bottom of this new fraction, this new simplified fraction, but excluded values always come from the original statement. So in this case there was an A, so you have to say that A cannot equal 0, because that would cause the denominator to be 0 in the original equation. So all excluded values are taken from the original form and not the simplified form. Keep that in mind. The next one, I change this to a plus a negative 6. I'm not going to write the prime factors of this one. I want to make the observation that I know 3 goes into both, so if I divide 6 by 3 I get 2. If I divide 7 by 3 I get 9. And I can take a k away on top and one of them on the bottom, and I'm left with a negative 2 on top and a 9k on the bottom. Now there is a variable in both original form and simplified form, but both scenarios, and I focus on the first one, the original form anyway, I know that k cannot be 0. So those are the two questions that are monomials. Now let's take a look at more interesting problems. So here again we'll reference that we will determine the excluded values using the original expression. Okay, and we do it in factored form to decide what the excluded values will be. But do not take excluded values from the original or from the factored form, because things cancel out sometimes and we miss some things. So here we have a binomial over a trinomial. So again, factor first. So we've done all that practicing. So I will have an x and an x. I need two numbers that have a product of 24 and a sum of negative 10. And that would give us 6 and 4, both negatives to give you a negative 10, and both negatives multiplied to give you a positive 24. So minus 6 and minus 4. Now we've changed the trinomial to factored form, which now allows us, before we cancel anything, allows us to say the excluded values are x cannot be a positive 6, because that would cause this to be 0, or a positive 4. Now that that's written, I can go ahead and simplify. Now that I've factored, I notice that x minus 4 and x minus 4 are present in numerator and denominator, which gives me a final fraction of 1 over x minus 6. And that's simplified. The next one, always factor first. So I notice that the numerator has a 3 in common for that binomial. So I factor 3 out and I get r minus 2. On the bottom, it's two terms, a binomial. They have nothing in common, but this is a question where I ask myself, are they a difference of two squares? So can I factor them so that the first term in each binomial is the root of the first term, which r times r is r squared, square root of r squared is r. I can root 4 and write a 2 in there, and I go plus minus. And they are a difference of two squares, so I can factor it. Now in that form, in factored form, we write down what the excluded values are. In other words, what r in this case cannot equal, and that's a positive or a negative 2. Positive 2 would cause that to be 0. Negative 2 would cause that to be 0. So those are the excluded values. Once I've done that, now I can cancel if anything is similar. And I see that I have an r minus 2 on top and r minus 2 on bottom, and we're left with a 3 over an r plus 2. And that is simplified. And this ends Lesson 9.2, Video 2.